Going to go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in the position to win.
Got him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it. That's just a heck of a play.
Going to go for two here. Go for two here.
Got him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
All right, welcome in, going for two, and it's episode 43, Troy Polamalu episode, presented by our friends over at Toboggan Brewing. And boys, I can't believe we made it to episode 43. I also can't believe that we're sitting here watching the Leafs and the Habs in Game 7, but both things are happening. Both things are happening. And before we get too far into things, I want to remind people to make sure that you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. Not just because you like our pretty faces, but because we're the only guys that will allow you to come on here. If you disagree with what we're saying, you can come on here, chat with us, and we'll bury you. And that's how it works. But
we're probably the realest sports talk show there is.
Has to be. And like it's because we're actually friends. Like I've known Kalen fucking since we were like 17. Known Chad for 10
Kalen
years.
out of a bar.
Yeah.
Kick Kalen out of a bar.
Remember anybody that comes on here, I take it really personal when you go after the Titans. That's just the way it's always been.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Liam, you can't see Liam. You can't see
The
Liam's pretty
loser
face,
mobile
but-
I saw this week.
Yeah. Every time me and Liam get together, we just hit home runs. So that's kind of how that works. But yeah, Chad is correct. This is definitely the realest. And maybe before we get into hockey, Chad, why don't you share a little bit of news that you had?
Probably the biggest news in all of sports this weekend. This guy right here, probably the second biggest hack job in golf besides Shane. I got a hole-in-one yesterday. So I think everybody should know that. All 7 of our listeners out there need to know this. 22 years later, this guy got a hole-in-one. So if I can do it, anybody can. Thank you. I'm clapping myself
What
on this
course
one.
were you playing, Chad?
I was a Pine Knot in Dorchester.
Beautiful course. Beautiful place to play. And what hole were you on?
11th hole. And I will say, to Pine Knot's credit, their course is in phenomenal shape. Like I played last weekend at Thames, and I played at Maple Ridge. Not the two best courses, only course I get on last week. But Pine Knot was light years ahead of them in their like greenskeeping.
It's awesome.
So yeah, I do recommend people to go out there, and good value on a weekend too. But yeah, no, I'm not just saying that because I had the best shot of my golf life ever. But no, the course was in great shape, and yeah, the 11th hole, now my new favorite hole ever in golf. Sorry, Augusta. You got nothing on Pine Knot in Dorchester, Ontario, in my eyes. But yeah, it's a pretty cool accomplishment. It took me 22 years of golfing to get there. So at this pace, at 57, I should have another one.
Yeah. Have you considered just hanging him up and like being done?
Honestly, I should have. After what happened to me on the next 3 holes, I think. Like,
so I was just going to leave that. I wasn't going to ask the question because that's never what you ask somebody who says that they got a hole in one. What did you do the next hole? But you've led me into it now. So Chad, what did you do on the next hole?
Well, there was a really nice tree that I saw off to the left. And I was like, you know what? I have pinpoint accuracy, obviously. I'm going to aim directly for this tree. And what do you know? Tree, out of bounds, called it. I actually did get one more par on the back 9. But outside of that, no. I would say I was like a teenage boy and I peaked too early, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Don't worry, Josh, your time's coming.
Intern Josh.
Yeah, no.
Have you guys ever heard about the hole-in-one insurance that you have to take out in China? You ever heard about this stuff?
Yeah, because lots of good things have come out of China lately.
So here it's customary that if you get a hole-in-one, I don't know if you did this, Chad, or not, but here you're supposed to buy your boys, anybody who witnessed the hole-in-one, you're supposed to buy them around. Even though you're the one who sunk it, you're the one who's supposed to buy it.
Yeah, so everybody just keeps telling me how, like, oh, did you buy the clubhouse a round of drinks? Well, like, I'm going to tell anybody right now, this is the best time ever to get a hole-in-one. Due to the 1-9, no one can hang out in the clubhouse.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I got that's like a double whammy for this guy.
So in China, you got to take out $1 million insurance policies. You buy gifts, luxury cars, and things for people who witnessed your hole-in-one. It's incredible over there. So thank God it didn't happen there, Chad.
Well, hey, I think Chad nailed it. I mean, I can't think of anything good in the last 16 months that's come out of China. So we'll just go ahead and leave it at that. But I want to ask Chad one more question. What do you think the correlation between having dinosaur arms and hitting a hole in one are?
I'm gonna go with it really helps.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because you don't have to bend
That's
your
all I
elbows,
got,
right?
like-
Your hands are just connected
like-
to your elbows.
My show, like, and you can't really dip your elbow because it's just one parallel thing. It's just like wrist, shoulder, done.
Yeah,
It's
perfect.
the single plane stroke, the Mo Norman, right? The
Yeah,
Bryson
hey.
DeChambeau.
Yeah, no, hey man, I'm happy for you. So,
And that's a tough hole, man. That's a sneaky par 3, man. That bunker in front protects it well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually thought I was short of the greens. I looked like I was short, and I was like, "Fuck!" And then I drive up, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" Fucking
oh, so you
ball's
didn't
just
know
leaning on.
it went in until
No, until we got up there, yeah. But I definitely creeped the shit out of the cart girl the next time I saw her, because at that hole I got a drink, and right as she left, 2 seconds later I hit my ball and got a fucking hole in one, not knowing it until I got up there. I saw her like 4 holes later. I was like, hey, you're my good luck charm. Forgetting that like creepy old guys hit on the 19-year-old beer cart girl every fucking day. She looked at me so disgusted. I'm like, no, I swear. And I told her what happened. And she's like, then she thought it was cool. And I'm like, fuck, thank God. Like, she took it the right way because I definitely creeped her the fuck out when I first said I told her she was my good luck charm.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Hey.
Bad
Hey,
vibe.
That's just consistency, creeping out girls, and like, were you drinking on the course, or you were just having H2O?
It's H2O.
Can't trust people that don't drink when they're golfing. But let's move on because we are watching Game 7 of Leafs and Habs right now. We all know that we got a couple of dollary dues invested into the Leafs tonight. I actually got the Leafs to win by a goal and a half tonight. So
Fuck them.
yeah, how the hell are they here? Like I'm trying to figure out. They had a huge comeback in Game 6, and they still blew it. Now, are you worried for the Leafs in this game right now?
Yep. Oh, yeah. You got 2 players, Marner and Matthews, that have combined for a goal. That is very, very telling. Everybody wanted to rag on Connor McDavid for potentially being the reason that the Edmonton got knocked out. Maybe he let his team down a little bit there in the playoffs. Where's Matthews' goals so far? What's he done so far for the team? I mean, he is the hardest working player on the ice, but he's not finishing, and that's what he needs to do. That's what he's getting paid $11 million. Marner, same thing. The only person I can see that's been consistent this entire playoff for the Leafs has been Billy Nylander. I hate to say that, but that's the only player that I'm seeing on the ice. It's like, yeah, you played well the entire time. Now they've gone and lost Muzzin. That's a huge loss to their blue line. That guy eats up nearly 25 minutes a game. He's averaging like 3 minutes on the power or the penalty kill. So he's basically out there every single penalty kill. And I read today that they were 14 for 14 against the PK until he went down. And then Montreal was able to score 2 goals as soon as he went down. So that's pretty telling. And that's a scary scenario for the Maple Leafs. It's of course, Montreal being this rivalry team. But I'd be scared if I'm a Leafs fan going into this game right now. I don't care if you're at home with 500 fans. Thank God the government let you have some people come in, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean that's a good sign all in itself, right? Like This is kind of how things got back to normal-ish in the States, as they started letting frontline workers vaccinated come in, and then now the States is just full bore. But for a guy like Muzzin, he's going to be out for 3 weeks, and I mean after tonight it might not matter. But if the Leafs are able to get through this, I think that they're going to have a really hard time with the Jets without a guy like Muzzin.
Yeah,
I think what people have to remember is there's still one person no one's talking about. That's Carey Price. He's the best goalie in the world.
100%.
And if I have to win one hockey game, I don't care if it's a gold medal game, Game 7, Game 23 in the regular season. If I have to pick one goalie in my net and I have to win, it's Carey Price. So forget about Marner, forget about Matthews, forget about Muzzin. All Montreal has to do is to score enough. Yeah. They have the best player, probably the best goaltender in the last, I'd say probably 10 years in net right now. I wouldn't say ever because that's not true. But in the last 10 years, he's definitely been the best goaltender on all levels for the Canadians and for Team Canada. And so I think that's the part that people aren't talking about. He had 41 saves in Game 6. He had 13 saves in overtime.
Right.
Like the Leafs shit the bed the first half of the game. They poured it on the last 2 periods, third period and overtime, and he was there to shut the door. And in Game 7, I think that's where you have to look. Forget about everybody else on the ice. It's going to come down to him and Campbell. because they're the ones they're the last stop, right?
Mhm. And let's be real, like it just comes like look at the teams on paper. These teams are not matched up. That is not a good Montreal team. That is a
No.
very weak fourth seed, and they're
But
giving it to
but
Toronto.
that's the same Montreal team that took the Penguins out last year, eh? So
I still don't think that's a very good, well-built roster, specifically to go against a team like Toronto. Maybe last year they had some razzle dazzle. This is not a very good team. They really aren't. They're playing 4 D men 30 minutes a game. They're not even running. Their last 2 D men aren't even seeing the ice the entire playoffs. They don't have depth. They got 2 players. Nick Suzuki is running this team. Corey Perry got a goal. That was nice to see a London boy get a goal there. But it's not a well-built team. And to me, it's just a team that wants it more than the Leafs. So far, every game that they've won, they've come in, they're outplaying the Leafs by a mile. It's not by a small margin. They're well outplaying them. So
what happens in Toronto if they don't win?
well, we get to see it implode for about 4.5 months. As
Yeah.
non-Toronto fans, that's going to be pretty fun to see, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, they walk through the North, and then they get knocked out in the first round to a lackluster, overachieving Montreal team.
it's probably already hard enough for Leafs fans to see their team play this late into May because, I mean, it's been 17 or 18 years since that's happened. Because typically the playoffs would have started in April. But what would happen? I think that you would have to have a head roll, whether it's an assistant coach or the head coach. Somebody in the office ranks is going to go if they can't get through this. And it's not necessarily that person's fault, but they can't fire players. And I mean, I don't think the guys that are disappearing, they're the guys you can't get rid of. I mean, Thornton and Spezza have been awesome. And those are the guys that you would think like maybe don't have it left, but those guys have been awesome. I do believe that the Leafs are going to pull it out tonight. I mean, they're into the first intermission already at 0-0, so they just need to get a cheapie on Carey Price and kind of shake him up a little bit, and I could see something like 4-1, 5-1 or something like that by the time this thing's all said and done. Because
He's just trying to cover the spread. That's all.
well, I mean, yeah, I definitely would like them to cover the spread, but for whatever team is to get through here, we have the Winnipeg Jets. They've been sitting at home now for it's got to be
Full week now.
Yes, a full 7 days. So probably like if game 1 was to happen after, like I would think it's going to be Thursday, just so that they can line it up Thursday, Saturday kind of thing, because they would obviously want the Canadian teams to be playing on Saturday night. Does this have a negative like effect on a guy like Connor Hellebuyck, who's been awesome and hot? You don't think he cools off at all?
No, personally, I'm not thinking that a person like him is going to cool off. He's been very, very good as a goaltender for a couple of years now.
I'm gonna cool myself off by grabbing a toboggan beer.
Oh, what kind are you grabbing today, Shane?
Oh, we got a little jock strap.
The jockey. All right.
Yeah, a little jock strap.
All right.
But yeah.
So yeah, I think that he's been hot for a couple of years. I don't think that the goalie is. We just saw Carey Price came back after little to no play to play against one of the strongest teams in the division, if not the league, and he's playing very, very well. That's not my worry, and I think that this is actually benefiting everybody else on Winnipeg. They're a team that they hit well. They're a very physical team. To have that time off, just to sit there and rest, to be able to go back into the next game and lollipop those boys again, like that. This is perfect for a team like Winnipeg. It wouldn't be good for a team like I would say Toronto, which does have some scruff to them. But I think that more or less a team like Toronto would have to keep the train going. If they took a week off, I think that's bad for them. A team like Winnipeg, that's perfect for them in order to build back up that whatever beating they took in that first round.
But kind of like what you said about the Jets being the physical team. If Toronto gets out of this, and that right now is a big if from what we've seen the last few nights, Montreal's beat the shit out of them. They have out hit them, which is so like unfitting to say about a Montreal Canadiens hockey team. But they've literally beat up on the Leafs, and they're gonna have no rest. And you're gonna have fresh legs in Winnipeg. Once again, a big physical team. Like, so what does that mean for Toronto if that does happen? But what does it mean for a team like Montreal? Like right now, they're the aggressor.
Right.
They're throwing the hits. But I don't care who you are. Like, we all played football. We all played hockey. Whether you're throwing a hit or taking a hit, you're still abusing your body.
Absolutely.
And now these guys have waited a whole week, rested up, sat in ice baths, going for their morning skates. Outside of I'm gonna mess up his name. The goaltender what is it?
Hellebuck?
What's his name? Hellebuck, yeah. Outside of him missing,
There's no punctuation in that, Chad. You should have been fine.
I have no fucking clue what his name was. Outside of him getting like live game shots, that would be like my only concern. But like you said, the regs are rested, the body's rested, and now these two teams have gone into a war because Montreal's been in survival mode the last week too, right? So they had to put everything on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be really weird. It's going to be a good transition to see how that plays out.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I wonder now that Game 7 has 550 fans or whatever it is, if they're to get through and play the Jets on whether it's Wednesday or Thursday, it's irrelevant. Are they gonna allow fans roll all the way through? And like, we don't need to talk about that. I'm just kind of curious for our own sake if this is a Game 7 thing or if this is like now they can start doing it, because there is the people out there that think, why can't I go shopping if people can go to a hockey game? I'm not one of those people. I think it's awesome that they're letting the frontline workers do this. So I mean, fire away. Do you?
Yeah, I think those folks have kind of earned the right, they would say, to have a game. We're gonna be able to go to a game like this, right?
Even if they hadn't, like, I'm not a person to say like, well, that person can do this, so I should be able to do this. Like, that's such like that's such a bitch thing to look at stuff. But
anything that gets me to Comerica Park this summer one time to see an afternoon baseball game, I'm all for it.
Hey, can I get an amen?
That's all I need.
I'm
I just
feeling
want to go
that, man.
hang out in right field, have a
Yeah.
couple afternoon pops with my good friends.
I've
And-
re-engaged in my love with baseball. I feel you, Chad.
It's not even baseball. It's the fact that like it's just such a different experience doing it there than it is to go to a Skydome.
100%. Yeah, I mean the Skydome, in my opinion, stinks. I don't even like going there. So, there's another game on right now. I'm watching it too. The Bruins and the Islanders.
Oh God!
Now,
Did he score again, guys? Did he score again?
He hasn't yet, but
No, I'm pretty sure he did though in Game 1, though, didn't he?
oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think everyone did. I mean,
Yeah.
they had to change the fucking light bulb after the end of the second period.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a guy, and he was like, yeah, I can't believe how bad the Islanders looked against the Bruins. I said, you're looking at this the wrong way. I can't believe how bad the Penguins are for allowing the Islanders to beat them and then getting throated by the Bruins. And it's going to happen again tonight too. And it comes down to the fact that the Bruins are willing to get in front of the net, and they have a goalie that wears equipment. That's all it is. Like those are really the two factors it's going to make it so the Bruins are going to win the series in 5, in my opinion. And I said that on the last show, I think too, but
it's the way Boston can just roll lines too. Like,
yeah,
every single player on that roster is built for playoff hockey.
Yeah,
that's the difference. And I know how much you love Taylor Hall, Kalen, but it was the right move for them. That's what it comes down to. Whether you like the guy or not, he's just another piece of the puzzle, and that's all he has to be.
Right.
And I think that's what the difference is, and why he is probably playing so well there. Everywhere he's been, he had to be the guy. It probably worked it on him. Unfortunately, he was with your guys when a lot of that happened. And then when he went to Buffalo, there's no one even around him besides Eichel. Like, Buffalo sucks.
Yeah.
And so now he's just a piece of the puzzle, and it's one of those pieces that they needed. And it's now like it just helps out a whole other line for them. It just makes them that much deeper.
Well, yeah, for sure.
You mentioned a team there, Buffalo. I know that we in another sport we've talked a lot of trade watch lately. I think today or tomorrow is the final day of the rehabilitation period that the team and Eichel agreed on. It's like the extended period they gave him. So I guess from here on out, now the team says that they're going to have a plan in place as how they want him to handle it, and we're going to see how he feels about that. But it looks like we're going to see some Eichel watch here over the next few weeks, and whether or not he's going to get shipped out of Buffalo. If he does, guys, what's left there? Like, that team is in complete ruin at this point, right?
For sale.
Yeah, I mean, there is nothing left there at this point.
To Quebec City.
And I'm pretty sure they're owned by the same guy that owns the Bills. So I mean, he
Yeah,
knows how to rebuild the team, but this is going the exact opposite direction.
Yeah, the Pagula family owns them, but I mean, they've only owned them for 2 years or 3 years, so it's not like they've been there for a long time. They're still getting the structure in place. I mean, I think that the Sabres had the right idea this year. They just grabbed a whole bunch of guys that couldn't be the guy, and they didn't gel well together. And obviously, like we all know, the locker room is the most important part. You could throw like an all-star team in a locker room, and they might still get beat by the Tampa Bay Lightning, because the Lightning have that team chemistry.
Mhm.
And I mean, as far as the Lightning go, did you guys see any of the game with the Canes?
I did not watch any of that game. No.
Okay, yeah, I mean, like the Canes looked okay. I think that's probably going to be the best series out of the three that have started anyway. And I mean, I do think that the Lightning are going to win it, but there's not a whole lot to come out of something like that. I think it's crazy that the Canes are the home team in that, because to me, like when I just assumed that the Lightning won that division, but they didn't. So
people are sleeping on the Lightning. Like, I took them and the Avs to go to the finals.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the Lightning were banged up in the regular season. They got everybody back. That team won a Stanley Cup less than a calendar year ago.
Right, and I mean,
you didn't lose anybody.
You have chemistry and a hot goalie, so anytime you have chemistry and average goaltending, you have a chance. And while we're on the topic of goaltending, let's go to the Avs and the Golden Knights. And again, I don't know if you guys watched the game last night.
Oh wow!
Did the Golden Knights have a goalie?
Well, here's the interesting move. So they had Robert Leonard in over Marc-Andre Fleury, which.
Well, I mean, they did all year long do the two-headed monster thing, right? And Fleury did just face a pretty deep series.
Here's the thing. It's game 1.
Yeah.
You're on the road. I'm not sure that putting a guy like Leonard is the right play. I mean, he did just play 7 games. Yeah. I don't know how many of the 7 Marc-Andre played, but if I was going in to play after last night, what I would see is by far the most explosive offense in hockey I've ever seen. I might want our top goalie in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
that's just a thought.
Playoffs are a time to experiment with goaltending.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is like I said, it isn't and it isn't, because they've been doing it all year long. Like I think that I think that he was getting some award too for some sort of backup goalie or something award of the year, but they've been doing it. It's a tough team to go against, and the Avalanche, I mean, it's the toughest team in the friggin' NHL from top to bottom, even without their second line center being suspended, right? So I think they just ran into a bit of a buzzsaw game 1 there.
And the thing is, like we talked about, I mean, changing the light bulb in Boston. I mean, there was 7 goals scored by the Avalanche in that game, and all of them were like amazing goals. None of them were like cheapies.
No.
I've never seen a playoff game with 7 outstanding goals, and even the Golden Knights game. I mean, our goal, like, it was okay, but it was above average. But there was a point where I forget the guys. I think Rantanen had the puck behind the net, and within 7 seconds, it had touched 3 other players' sticks, and McKinnon had put it in the top corner.
Yep.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, they're a passing team. Certainly a highly skilled passing team is what they are. And you can see them make defenders spin in their zone. Like they're just spinning around the whole time, right?
Right.
The Avalanche, I know that I picked the Knights to be going to, and I think it's just a shock of a game 1. Did you watch the last game that Vegas had in the last series? Because Fleury let in, I know they ended up winning it decisively, but those first couple of goals that Fleury let in, they were tricklers. They weren't very good. It was not the Fleury that we had seen the first couple of games of the series. And I think that maybe the coaching just kind of said, let's give the guy a rest. He didn't look himself the last 2 games he played in that series. That both games, he kind of had some weak goals go in on him, right? So, I mean, they learned their lesson. The guy's got 1 day off now, so we're going to see him probably for the next 4 or 5 anyway.
He's a Stanley Cup champion goaltender. He's done it more than once. He's won twice. He's won gold medals. There's no reason why he's not in net in the playoffs. That's what it comes down to. I don't care what your reasoning is. Unless he was bent over backwards begging not to play, which I don't see any goaltender ever doing that in the playoffs, that should not be happening.
Right. The only thing I can think of,
you ride your guy.
yeah. To Chad's point, like I was just thinking, like maybe he was nicked up because they did let Leonard stay in there for all 7 goals. So maybe he was nicked up. I guess in a playoff game you don't make a change like that because that's a tough one. You just gotta. It's like when you throw in a relief pitcher in the 3rd inning, like, yo, bro, you gotta go get us some, eh?
I know I usually ask you for 2.5, but I need you for about 6 tonight.
Yeah, you gotta go eat some innings here, pal. But yeah, I mean, I think that the playoffs are getting more and more exciting. So I am very, very.
Did you see Kadri tried to appeal his suspension? And
Yeah, he got declined.
And then he's going to Peros. He's going to appeal it one more time. Now it goes to Peros instead of Bettman. What do you think this means for Kadri's? I mean, his history as a player. I mean, the guy is a great player. He's a 2-way center. He's been on the 2nd line of both teams he's been on. But every single playoffs, this guy does something stupid and gets suspended and lets his team down. But I mean, they didn't let him down yesterday because he didn't need him apparently. But this is stupid. The stupid suspension again, right? So what does this do for his legacy as a player?
I want to correct one thing that you said there because he's not a great player. He's above average.
Player.
He's definitely above average. But to call him a great player, I don't know, man.
I would say that Kadri does things very, very like I would say he's a great penalty killer, and there's a certain role for that in a second line centerman to do it. So I would give him that aspect. And then they're obviously like great player that scores goals, but there's certainly great players that they're asked at the roles they play in.
He's the best 4th line center on the Avalanche for sure. So
come on,
Chad, come on, back me up on this.
I'm not going to say he's a great hockey player, but he does exactly what's asked of him, and I don't think it does anything to his legacy. Without insulting him, like what legacy does he have? He's a career 2nd and 3rd line center. He had a couple of big years in Toronto when he was asked to be the guy. But outside of that, he wins faceoffs. He does the dirty work. When you do dirty work, you're going to put yourself in situations where you might get in trouble.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not a shot at him, but like what legacy does he have? He's a good hockey player.
Right.
Well, I guess the way that I would say is because him being from London, I guess. But I would say this is more of a personal question to us because he's from our town. He was very well known when he was a knight around here. He's still well known when he comes back home in the off season, right? There's going to be talk about the great players that come out of London specifically. So what does this do for that type of legacy, for that type of player? Is he tarnished? You know what I mean? Is this the guy that makes it to the show and then gets his ass kicked out of the show?
But like, look, you're trying to compare him against. It's not fair to him either.
Yeah.
Like, we've had studs roll through here. We had Rick Nash. We had Corey Perry.
Dino Cisterelli.
Yeah, Cisterelli. Brandon Shanahan.
Yeah.
Marner. The kid right now, I can't. Josh Anderson's been there.
Perry.
Nazem Kadri was a way better junior hockey player than Josh Anderson. But Anderson's lighting it up right now, and he's one of the top players in the playoffs.
Right.
I just don't think, like Kadri said, he's a good hockey player. He was a great London Knight. He did well for us. But like to ask him how it affects like his London career, unfortunately, the guys that he played with and around or before him and after him, they were just better hockey players than he was. And I think this doesn't change any of that.
Right, and I'm not sure that we would even be giving him the clout that he's getting. And like, this isn't me killing the guy, but I'm not sure he'd be getting the clout that he's getting if he wasn't drafted to the Leafs. If this guy was drafted to the Arizona Coyotes and then got traded to the Avalanche, it would just be another guy that played in London. But because he was a first-round pick for the Leafs, there's all this like extra pressure that's put onto him and having to be a better player than what we're expecting him to be. And I think that he fits exactly to what his role is in Colorado. And I think that's a great spot for him. And I don't think he's at any risk of missing any, like he's going to be back in this playoffs because Colorado is going to make it to the Stanley Cup. If I were him, I would just hope that the Golden Knights win a couple so that you can get back in for the semifinals and not have to miss it. Like he might be at home with a Golden Knights hat on, hoping that one goes to 7.
That's right.
But yeah, let's move off hockey for a second, and we'll continue on to football. But before we do, make sure that everybody knows to subscribe to the YouTube channel because we are the only people that had a pick'em for a charity and Kalen's nutsack went in the Thames River.
Oh.
I don't know of any other show or people in London that did that.
Who would risk their lives to go in the Thames River for charity?
Yeah. Well, not his feet. Not his feet though, because he needed water shoes. But that's a reason enough to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
He might have a third
sharp
nut.
rocks, Shane. I have nice model feet, you may know.
Yeah, and you dropped your nutsack in there with no protection. But
I'm still feeling the effects.
yeah, I bet.
Do you have like remember the three-eyed fish in The Simpsons? You just have 3 balls. You just have 3 balls now.
I was hoping that it would get bigger.
I believe that he now has a second urethra, but we'll ask Cindy about that and see what she thinks. But let's talk about Aaron Rodgers because now we got a little game of chicken going on. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers isn't showing up for OTAs. Okay, fine. I don't think that's a huge deal, even though there seems to be like quite a few big name players at the voluntary workouts. But the GM comes out today and says, "There's no way we're trading him. Who cares?" So does Aaron Rodgers just retire?
The part about the whole OTA thing that I loved, and I shouldn't say that like being a football coach because I would have lost my shit if this was my team, but not one of his 5 receivers showed up to OTAs.
Yeah.
Like, talk about staying by your man. Like, they rode for their homie there and then some.
Yeah.
Like if you don't bring back A-Rod, like everybody knows they're going to show up when they want to get paid. But they have a lot of receivers on that team who don't make a lot of money.
Correct.
So for them not to show up to OTAs and risk pay, that shows that they're riding with their guy. Like Devontae Adams can literally do whatever the hell he wants.
Right. He's gone next year anyway, free agency.
Yeah.
Gone.
And the amount of money he's going to get, he doesn't care if he misses out on OTAs. But the rest of those guys, yeah, they don't have the wallet to be doing that kind of stuff and getting fined left, right, and center. So the fact they're doing it, so unless Aaron's paying for it, and if he is, hey, I love the guy even more. But it just shows where their loyalty stands, and it's not to the Green Bay Packers. No. I think that's what their front office has to understand. But yeah, to say you're not gonna trade him or whatever it's gonna be, man. All I know that is if I'm someone in the Green Bay Packers, I want this shit sorted out ASAP. Either trade the guy or get his ass in the building.
Well, they also said that Jordan Love looks fantastic in OTAs.
Well, I think they have to say that.
So,
like, I'm gonna say, shit, Aaron, we don't need you. You do what you're doing. We're gonna trade you. By the way, Jordan Love sucks dick. You're really not gonna say that at a press conference.
Yeah. Well, hey, and I mean that might be his preference, but that's none of your business, Chad. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. It seems like the logical thing is for Julio Jones to just get traded to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers to come back and it's kumbaya. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of logic happening over there in Green Bay. Wait for it.
Remember what I said about having a guy between the pipes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the boys' stream is just kind of catching up to my stream, and that's kind of why you're seeing a little bit of reaction there because the Canadians just scored.
Go red and blue.
Calen's behind my stream.
There's a lot of Leafs fans whose buttholes just fucking puckered up because things are getting a little tough.
Gallagher. I just love. There's certain players on the Canadians that I love when they score against the Leafs because I know it just cuts a little bit deeper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gallagher's one of them. He's one of them feisty little fuckers on the ice.
Yeah. So we'll go back to the Aaron Rodgers thing because I want to know, like, now that things are settling down, it's almost June. It's June 1st tomorrow. That's the logical time after where Aaron Rodgers can like be traded. Like, is this gonna happen or is he gonna come back?
I'm so worn out with this one. There's been not just because it's Aaron, but it's like all the quarterback stories this offseason. You had Russell Wilson, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, Deshaun Watson, now Aaron Rodgers, which is still playing out. And that one's
I think Deshaun Watson's in his own category.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Don't you group those guys with Deshaun?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like just when I thought I was out of that, it just somehow this new story of Aaron.
I don't believe you can talk about ongoing investigations.
Yeah. And it's been 3 weeks of it now, and I think, and the GM like making the comment to me, I think you're better off just saying no comment at this point. You know, like you're
Correct.
already apparently the person who's got the target on your head from Aaron Rodgers. Now you're just coming out and basically saying we're not going to do anything that you're asking us to do. Like, I don't know, it just seems worse. Just keep your head in the sand. I don't even know can Green Bay fire their GM being publicly owned? Like, how does that work? I don't even know how that works there.
Yeah, I'm sure that they have like a board. Like, I don't really know how the structure works there either, but yeah, they could probably fire their GM. And
oh, what a save!
If it came down to it, I'm sure that they would want Aaron Rodgers there for a couple more years over whoever this guy is that no one knows of. But I want to talk about something that it's just kind of breaking around right now. So I don't even know if you guys have seen this yet, but Landon Vander Esch for the Cowboys.
Oh, Leighton, what's going on with him?
He's what'd you say his name was? Leighton? What did I say? Landon?
Yeah.
Anyway,
he's
rumored to be traded now.
What? Really?
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you that there's a rumor that the Pittsburgh Steelers have offered them a 4th round pick for Leighton Vander Esch.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Their linebacker room is stacked now after the draft. He is the odd man out. I would take Jaylen Brown up with him. Jalen switching his number and everything. It would be
Jalen Smith, first off. Thank you.
Smith, sorry. It'd be pretty expensive for him to have to change teams for another new number there. But yeah, I don't. That's crazy. 4th round pick too. He has some injury history, both coming into the NFL and recently, of course. But he's a good linebacker, man.
Yeah, well,
you guys have to pick up the option. He was a 1st round pick, I believe, was he not? Or is he?
Yeah. No. I don't think he's been paid yet. So it'd probably be into his option year. So that would obviously come into effect. But with the cap going up, I gotta tell you, I think I'd be pumped up about that move. I mean, he doesn't even have to
get him for a 4th. It makes sense.
He doesn't even have to be a starter to come in. He can kind of develop and be a piece. See what he's got in training camp. Don't put any pressure on him, but
without the injuries, he is a starter. He doesn't develop. Of course, he needs to develop as any other player does. But
without the injuries, he's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, he's a hell of a fucking player if he's not injured. Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, if that comes to fruition, I will be a very happy guy. We'll see how that all breaks down, but the bigger trade that's out there right now is obviously the Julio Jones thing. I'm not sure an episode's gone by in the last month that we haven't talked about Julio Jones.
And we're not the only ones guilty of that. That is literally across the board sports radio shows everywhere, right? It's
I mean,
right now.
Hey, thanks Shannon Sharp. But let's talk about the story that's kind of breaking today is that they're willing to accept a lower package to unload his $38 million over the next 2 years.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I said was going to happen. I said they're not going to get a 1st for him.
Yeah.
I said they're going to have to lessen the load, and that's just common sense. It wasn't that I was trying to play Astrodamus. It was just that there's no way you're going to give him a 1st round pick for him.
Astrodamus? Nostradamus, Chad?
Yeah, that guy too.
Astrodamus. There it is.
That guy too.
Oh man, this might be the dumbest show ever. That's another reason to subscribe. It's the dumbest show ever.
Oh,
but
that's awesome.
Yeah. Astrodamus is wondering if he's gonna get moved for a 2nd or a 3rd round pick, and the more and more it moves towards 2nds and 3rds, it just looks like either the Rams or the Seahawks. Like those are the teams that never pick in the 1st round because they always trade for dumb shit. But Rams or Seahawks makes sense right now.
I mean, I thought the Rams, from what I understood, was already bowed out of it. I heard the Seahawks was the latest conversation.
Well, yeah, the Rams bowed out of it because they don't have a 1st round pick for the next 2 decades. But now that it's going for like a 2nd or a 3rd, we back in the speak space. Yeah, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But
who
knows how that thing goes? Yeah, I mean, the more and more that it goes, I'm gonna sorry to Kalen. The longer this thing goes, the less I think he's going to Tennessee. Tennessee is like they would have gone in there with a first round pick. It's clear that that's probably not happening now. So it seems like it's going to be one of these other teams. I don't know if Julio just said, I would rather go to a team on the West Coast or whatever the case might be. But I think that even though he has no trade clause or no trade clause, he's involved in the process. And no disrespect to Tennessee, I don't think that would be a destination for him. But we'll see. I mean, I think that if I were him, I would rather be with Russell Wilson or Matthew Stafford over Ryan Tannehill, my opinion. But we do have a couple big name running backs. Do you want to respond to that, by the way?
I'm going to let you have that line, Shane, because I think it's blasphemous. Blasphemous.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about a couple of guys that maybe a few years ago we would have talked about as Hall of Fame running backs. But they're both free agents right now. So we got Le'Veon Bell and we got Todd Gurley. They're both out there on the market. If you
and one's out there on Twitter calling out people calling him out. Did you see that? Le'Veon's going nuts.
Le'Veon is a little bit fucking nuts.
That guy's stable.
That guy is blaming the Jets offense. So I was just a Hall of Fame or All-Star running back for so many seasons until I got to New York. What do you think happened? Just throwing people onto the bus, man.
Well, the thing is, the guy thought he was going to get $30 million, so he held out from the Steelers, and he wasted 2 years of his career.
Did you see his comment to that? Because he said somebody commented and tweeted to him and said, you should have taken that contract that the Pittsburgh Steelers offered. And he said, well, they should have taken the contract offer that I wanted, or give me the contract offer I wanted kind of thing. So it's just out there. Just keep your mouth shut, man. You're at the tail end of your running back career. You just had an opportunity of a lifetime playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. You're still not signed, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So who would you rather have? I mean, Derrick Henry pulls a hammy week 1, or Leonard Fournette, rips up his ankle and is out for a couple of weeks. Like, if you guys are picking a running back for your team, who's it going to be?
Between the two that are free right now?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I think I'd probably take Todd Gurley. I mean, then that makes sense because I've just trash talking Le'Veon Bell there. But Le'Veon, I thought he was going to do a hell of a lot more when he went to KC. That offense was built for, or at least in my opinion, was built for him to be that receiving running back and take the load off of the rookie running back that was there, and he couldn't do it. I don't know. To me, that's skeptical then. I think he may be really at the tail end of his career. So I think I would take Todd Gurley. He's a straight-ahead player. He has he's just one style. He's not too shifty or anything like that. Just let him get in the lane, and he'll take it 8 or 9 yards if he gets a break. Not going to take a house anymore, but.
Chad, who are you thinking?
I thought when you kind of we talked about what we were going to talk about today, the one thing about Gurley that enticed me is he's only 26 years old. I didn't realize he was that young. That being said, for me being a Buccaneers fan, the way that we run our offense, a guy like Le'Veon Bell makes more sense. He can line up anywhere. He's a phenomenal receiver. And the one thing that Tom Brady loves is running backs that can catch footballs.
Right.
He fits our offense more than what Todd Gurley would. As a traditional running back, yeah, I do think Gurley's a better option. But he didn't even really start last year right away. I don't even know where he was. He was in Atlanta last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was okay. I think he rushed for like 900 yards.
And I don't know. I just feel that in our offense, Bell makes more sense the way that Bruce Arians calls the game. He's always had running backs that caught the footballs. Tom Brady loves running backs that can catch. He just makes more sense for us. That being said, it feels like Tampa's running a fantasy camp down there. It doesn't sound like it might not happen one day.
Yeah.
It just depends what price you're going to get him at, because we get all these veterans for nothing. So.
Well, him and Tony Tone Touch are boys, right? So they, they could run a little crazy camp down there in Tampa. Maybe infect the locker room a little bit. But, yeah, when it comes to the fact that Todd Gurley's only 26, that is pretty mind-boggling. And all those years that he had with the Rams, it feels like the guy should be in his 30s, like Frank Gore style. But I'm not sure if
his knees are like 38 or 40.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think that he was that bad last year. I think that on a Falcons team, he was above average. And Liam could maybe look up his stats, but I feel like he was just short of 1,000 yards rushing, and Todd Gurley. And I think I'm gonna say that he had 10 touchdowns.
I think he had double-digit touchdowns. I do believe
Yeah.
that.
So a guy like that makes sense, but let's just say, like, if I was a GM, I would bring them both in.
Last year?
Rush yards?
You're looking at the
Yeah.
678. Okay, there we go.
Oh, it's 678. That's how many yards. Okay, sorry. And he had
10
9
touchdowns,
Okay.
yeah.
9.
9.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So there was another running back that's making a little bit of waves right now, and that's you guys remember Brandon Jacobs?
Hard to forget
No.
a running back that big.
Now Brandon Jacobs is kind of thinking, hey, if Tebow can do it, I can do it. And he said, there's no way that guy's more athletic than I am. So at the age of 38, Brandon Jacobs is trying to make a comeback as a defensive end, I believe.
Oh gosh.
Do you believe the hype?
Well, it's just as much of
No.
a sideshow as Tim Tebow. That's the best way to put it.
Yo, Tim Tebow's yoked. Do you guys see that guy? He's jacked up.
Yeah, I don't care. He's still a fucking loser. And Brandon Jacobs is going to go down the same level. He's going to go down the same thing.
If I try to think of the two positions, I feel like it would be more difficult to be a defensive end and be successful learning it on the fly than it would be to change positions and become a tight end.
Yeah,
Like,
you
learn
learn
how
how
to
to cover.
What's that?
You have to learn how to cover. Defensive ends don't just rush anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And it's just not that. It's like the hand fat, like the swatting and punching and shit. That takes a long time to have that kind of muscle memory, man. I think that is something, if you haven't done it for a few years, you can't walk into the NFL and suddenly just do it.
That's an insult to defensive ends.
Yeah. Well, it also makes me think, and I haven't seen a picture of Brandon Jacobs recently, but I'm going to say that he probably put on about 30 or 40 LBSs then if he's looking to play on the defensive end.
That recent picture I saw, he's not much bigger looking than what he was in his playing days, man. He's gray beard, but he's not looking. I
mean, in his playing days, he was 6'4", 260. So, like, let's not pretend like he's a little dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, like, as far as like being becoming a fat guy and not playing anymore, he still looks. He's been working out. He still looks. He left the same size. But yeah, he's gray beard, man.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. A guy like this is just kind of being a dick. I watched a video from James Harrison recently. That dude is in like almost 40, 45-ish. I don't know, man. I couldn't even dream of being in the shape that dude's in. I don't know why he's not in the NFL anymore.
Mm-hmm. Guy's best friend is one of those big monster truck tires.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If a guy like James Harrison, who was an outside linebacker and a rush end his whole career, a rush specialist, isn't even getting a look, why do you think that you can come off the street and just become a defensive end? You've never played that position before. So what? He's maybe playing defensive end in some fucking beer league in, I don't know, whatever state he lives in.
Maybe he's on that Twitch league, Kalen.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, like if a guy like James Harrison isn't even getting looked at, that guy's a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And you think you're just gonna come off the street? Get a life, man.
I mean, if you really wanted to make
the same fucking bus.
If he really wanted to make waves, what he should have done was saying, if Tim Tebow can come back and do it, he should have hopped on the train of making fun of Kelvin Benjamin from years back and saying, if Kelvin Benjamin can make a comeback as a tight end, the size that he was, that fat ass, I'm sure I can do it, right?
But like, Brandon Jacobs could easily be a blocking tight end. If he that actually makes more sense than going to play defensive end.
Right. But all right, well let's switch sports for a second, because the last time we chatted, I cut Kalen off because he wanted to talk about Shohei Ohtani.
Ohtani, my favorite player right now, man.
Chad, say that one 10 times fast, okay?
No.
So Kalen got introduced to this guy by playing MLB The Show. He's been in the league for I want to say 4 years now. Maybe like 2017. So Kayla, what do you need to know? Like, what do you want to know about this guy and how he's getting it done?
Okay, so first and foremost, when he's the pitcher, where is he? Is he going up against aces or is he going up against their fourth and fifth pitchers? What's going on here? Is he a starter?
Well, he's definitely a starter. Yeah. So yeah. Before we get into that, like, did you guys hear what happened before his last start?
No.
Okay, so there was some kind of traffic jam in Oakland. So between the Angels going from their hotel to the stadium in Oakland, there was a huge delay, and he didn't have the time to get ready to be a starter. So they just went ahead and put him in the starting lineup to, play a little DH.
Well, jeez.
They scrapped his start, and they just, but like, how unreal is that? But the guy, if he's not their best pitcher, he's their second best pitcher. He's their one or their two. Now he's on a bad team.
Yeah, that's a tough break. I was watching a breakdown recently of the game that he just had against Oakland because he hit a pitcher or hit a batter, right? And there was a bit of a line or a bench clearing moment there. What I took away from that breakdown that I watched is that guy's speed on the same pitch went from 91 up to 98 within 2 pitches, like just from one pitch to the next. Yeah. And he almost smiles if if I needed 99, I'll give you 99. If I need 91, I'm going to give you 91 on the same pitch. It's incredible the amount of touch that this guy has, and to still be able to go and play right field or center field if they need him to go out there and do that. It's insane.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely not center field, but yeah, he could probably play right field. I would say that majority of the time he's in the lineup, he's going to be the DH. Only because you don't really want a guy like that out there running the outfield and tearing out that old ACL, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, to be honest, I don't watch a lot of Angels games. I definitely pay attention to him. So if I had to give you how many home runs he's had this year, like, what do you think it is?
How many games are we in right now? We're about 40-ish, right?
You know 50? What? We're about 2 months. So I bet you're about 50 to 55, depending on what team you are.
Okay. I mean, I'm thinking he's probably in around he's got to be double digits. I'm thinking like 10, 12?
15.
Okay, fuck, that's good, man. What's his average? Do you have his average there?
I don't have it in front, but I bet he's around like a 265, 270. So he's above average.
RBs.
Yeah. So he was sitting the last time I looked at 40 RBIs, but that was also a couple of days ago. So he could be up in the 50s now. Now he started 7 games. So yeah, I mean, if he starts every 5 days, that kind of makes sense. Obviously they scratched one of his starts. So yeah, they're probably around like 45 games. He's 1-1 because the team stinks.
Sucks, yeah.
But his wins above replacement, which is a huge stat in baseball. It's not really something I subscribe to, but it's 8.
Jesus.
So that is massive. I mean, usually pitchers are not that high, and definitely position players outside of like a guy like Mike Trout, maybe they're just not that high. So assuming this guy's not on the team, they'd be like 20 games under 500 as opposed to the 10 that they already are.
Oh my God. Okay, so two more questions for you then here, and I'll get off the Ohtani train for the evening. So he's a free agent at the end of this year, if I understand correct, right?
I think that it was a 4 or 5 year international deal when he came over. Yeah.
Okay, so I know I've asked this before, but there's no way that Anaheim's keeping him, right? They're a shit team. He's obviously not going to want to stay there. There's nothing in the MLB that they have money. Okay,
they got money.
Do you have like that type of birds rights that you have in the NBA where the team that has your drafting rights or whatever maybe can pay you more than the team than in free agency? Is there nothing like that? So then why wouldn't he want to walk? There any team out there would want to take. He's a switch hitter too, is he not?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, is the most important thing to him winning the World Series, or does he just want to live in the Western Hemisphere and make a whole bunch of money?
Yeah, I guess in the most highest taxed state, I guess that's the one that I just feel like there's probably teams that just want to pay that man to get out of there. Texas could be one of them. They'd be like, "Come on over here, man." You know what I mean? I know he had that opportunity in Toronto. I don't think they're going to be splashing and dropping the bag on somebody like Ohtani this late in the game, but him coming up more north would be kind of fun too.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Jays were the second finalist in that, and I don't see that happening only because when you get used to California weather, I mean, no disrespect to Toronto next year, but
We're
Yeah.
playing. We're playing in Florida right now.
Yeah.
No, they're playing in Buffalo now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
June
they
1st.
came up after May there. So then my last question I got here. I know that he's not like the first player to ever be like this, right? There's have been players in the past, but he's the most successful, sure, at what he's doing right now. Do you see this as being
Probably
the
second most successful.
second? Okay, so do you see this as being a
There was a guy
trend?
named Babe Ruth. He was. I don't know if you heard him. He's pretty good.
Okay,
Big Bambino.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Salt in us.
So
Yeah.
besides the Big Bambino, in our generation,
Baby
because
Ruth.
it's been about 60, 70 years since that's been able to happen or been witnessed. Do you think that this begins to start opening up the gates where kids want to go into a team at the age of 10 or 12 and do multiple positions like that and continue that at the age of 17 before being, or is it going to be the normal year at 13, 14, forced into your role and that's what you're going to be kind of thing?
100%. I think that people want to do this. I think that people have wanted to do this. It's generally that saying that God doesn't give with both hands. So I think that the fact that he's so talented at playing the field and pitching probably makes it so that he has a private locker room and a private shower. Enough said.
It's such a shame that he's on a team like Anaheim that just can't get like the accolations, and the recognition on national television to be shown off. Where I'm always having to he's getting cheered on by his fellow competitors. I'm seeing MLB players tweeting about him and putting up highlights of YouTube videos about him and stuff, rather than like the actual television networks talking anybody, because they can't talk about anything besides the 30 seconds you get of Ohtani for Anaheim, and then that's it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, what should happen is, you guys remember when McGuire and Bonds were going for their big home run records and Sosa.
Yep.
Tiny watch.
And no matter what you're watching, like, it comes up in the top corner. That has to start happening for baseball. And I think that in September, when he starts to reach some of these historic milestones, it's going to happen.
And he's staying in Anaheim, like they won't trade him?
Well, I mean, they won't trade him. Like, why would they? I mean, think of the two reasons that you would go to an Angels game right now. One is to see Shohei Ohtani. The other is to see Mike Trout. Mike Trout is out for the next 10 weeks. So I wouldn't do it. Oh boy. Oh my God.
Oh boy, he says, I like the sounds of that when there's a PP going. What happened here?
What in the actual fuck? Anyway, let's continue on the baseball train. And we're gonna give Leafs fans a little preview for the baseball season, because it looks like that might be the next thing on tap for them. It's June 1st.
PGA too.
Yeah. It is
soon enough.
It is June 1st. So let's have a look at the Blue Jays and where they are in their record. Yeah. Anybody that's watching this as a Leafs fan, I'm sorry, they just scored their second goal. But don't do that kind of
Was
stuff.
it Corey Perry again too? My
Don't
God,
do that
little
stuff.
London boy.
You're a disaster. So the Blue Jays are behind 6.5 games in the division. The Rays are obviously ahead of them. Currently, the Red Sox are ahead of them. I believe the Yankees are up there too. But let's look at the wild card, because I think that's probably a more realistic spot for them. Right now, the Red Sox and the Indians are the two wild cards, and the Yankees and the Astros are kind of floating around there. But the Jays are only a game and a half back of the wild card. So obviously, dropping the game on Sunday night was tough for the Jays, especially in the fashion that they lost it. But do you see them being able to make a push to be that team, to be a wild card team?
I think they have the pieces. I think they have the weapons. They are young. And it all depends how deep they want to get into and how deep they want to go. We've said since the beginning they're missing pitching.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to go 3 deep into toboggan beers, just so you know.
There are a few.
Jockstrap.
There are a few fielders away, and so they need a leadoff hitter still. That being said,
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that Marcus Semien seems to be the leadoff guy, and I think that they signed Springer and told him he was going to be a leadoff guy. I think someone's about to have a tough conversation with Springer, saying like, "Hey, bro, there's no way that we can make Semien the 6 hitter. So you're moving down in the lineup a little bit. Maybe you're 2 or 3 now."
yeah, I just think that it's either one of those things that they have to make the move, and like once Springer's back, that's going to be a big difference for them as well.
Yeah.
But is it going to be too little, too late? And or do you make that push now so that when he comes back in, you're right in the thick of things? Because Toronto will not support a team that is not in the playoffs, and if they're not making that push, obviously I don't think they're coming back to Canada this year, anyways.
No.
But if you want to keep fans interested, unfortunately, outside of guys like you who watch every single game, and once I probably will start watching now, getting closer to, they're going to lose the casual fans unless they're right there.
Right. And it's not going to help them, the fact that the playoffs in hockey are so late this year and that they're going to carry into probably at least the first week of July, I would say. So that's probably not going to help baseball viewership. But for Leafs fans, like, you might want to start learning names like Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero, because that might be the rest of your summer here. So, and jeez, that's going to be rough. But I'm kind of enjoying it because I'm not a Leafs fan. All right, guys. Well, that's probably going to do it for today, unless you guys had anything else to chat about. Let's
away.
Yeah, the Leafs are in trouble, and we need to make sure that people are subscribing to our YouTube channel, because we are the only people that are going to call our Leaf friends tonight and just make sure that they're okay before we start making fun of them. And that's the kind of guys that we are.
They are people too, just not for the next 24 hours.
We're the kind of guys that drink toboggan beer and eat some Go Ghouls, and that's just the way we roll. But let's sign off there. Let's go enjoy the game. Cheers, boys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Enjoy the rest. We'll chat later this week.
There you guys.